Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth edition of the RedMist Outfit Wars Podcast. Today we have some special guests. I'm your host, Drakoy. I've been in RedMist since 2013, paid Planetside since, and today also we have CHIVE.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Chive. I'm an outfit leader of Oops, one of the squad leaders in the Reborn Outfit Wars squad. Been playing been playing Planetside originally on Miller and Woodman, and then more recently in Cobalt for the last 2 years.
Then we also have Aerro today.
Hello, I'm Aerro. I've also been playing since 2013. For the last 2 years, I've been an officer in BJ, and in this year's Outfit Wars, I'm squad leading for RedMist.
And we have ZmileZ.
Hello, I am ZmileZ. I've been playing the air game for a long time, 10 years now, I think, in competitive formats, whatever kind there may be. And this season I'm playing for Hot.
Then we also have Puff Daddy with a new background.
Yeah, hello, I'm Puff. I'm the flying man and also playing for a long time already.
And then last but not least, we have Sir Crowley.
Yeah, what's up? I'm Crowley. I'm also like a seasoned air veteran, and I've also been doing all kinds of air leading stuff in different formats.
Okay, first we're gonna be talking about the matches that happened this Friday. So the first match was a really close one, Hydra versus Boys. Boys didn't win. Sorry, Hydra won very, very strongly. I think it was a very rough game for Boys. For sure, if you look at the stats, it was pretty quick. What do you have to say about it, Pav? Because you flew in it, right?
Yeah, I think it was pretty expected, honestly. I think Boys didn't even bring full 48 people. I think it was 20. I don't know. Went like expected, and probably how Sally also thought how it will turn out. Yeah, don't think there's much to say. There was no hitches though, thankfully.
As how I think you were in it as well, Crowley.
Yeah, I was in there as well. There isn't really much to add to what Puff said. We weren't even a full platoon, and neither were they.
Mm-hmm.
And they also didn't really have any dedicated air squad. And we were just basically able to do whatever we wanted to in the air. And we ended up getting dominance because of numbers and all of the other advantages we had.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, if anything, that the only interesting thing that this match really brought about was the fact that Boys did indeed turn up, because there was some pre-Outfit Wars drama about not even showing up and not having to play against certain teams, and a long discussion back and forth. If anyone's interested, I'm sure you're going to find the Reddit threads and YouTube videos for it out there. But to me, the most interesting fact was that indeed people did turn up to the match. That goes for both teams, because on Hydra you still don't know if you're going to get a roster or not. But I guess Boys, there was a certain motivation to play. And Boys' side, I'm still like, given that they only brought 20 with their outfit size, I find that a bit surprising and underwhelming still, even considering their approach towards the game or towards Outfit Wars specifically. But at least they did show up.
Yeah, I think.
Well, not to drop some sly, but do you think there was any coordinated effort to get people to show up, or do you think it was more of a, all right, we're against Hydra, so anybody who's around, show up, and if you're not around, don't bother?
Yeah, it was kind of like that. Like they have an open Discord kind of, and it's not hard to go into there and see the signups, and you see his status post. Like he got so much backlash from his first stance about showing up on matches that he had to switch his mind, because he knew he'd probably get banned or his outfit banned from Outfit Wars if they don't show up and not being sportsmanship, whatever. And you could see, or even like the people I killed were BR 18 or BR 20, like nothing coordinated, no, not the real Boys people. It was just like some people he probably gave the rights to join everyone in the outfit, and so like 20 pressed the button and it was fine, and yeah, that's it.
If I may add a little bit to that, I guess, yeah, their signups were probably about 20 people. They likely had a few who were just in-game, who also saw the notification pop up and just randomly joined in. And another reason for the potentially low numbers could be that a few of their members joined the 1 versus 4 team. Although I'm not sure how many there would be. but at some point there's been talks about a few boys people potentially joining them.
Yeah, I think for sure if boys had a full platoon, they maybe even had a chance to, like, in the opening go for one base or something, or at least get more points, you know, because you don't know how close it will be in the end, and you maybe will need the bracket points if it comes to like a draw.
It's correct, yeah. And then I don't think Zelly, I'm sure Zelly knows, but I don't think he cares. And also what Crowley said, a lot of like the people who actually care and are good at the game in boys, they figured out that boys is just a circuit, and there's like no real good leadership, and they if actually want to succeed and having like nice matches, then they have to leave the outfit and get into a new one. And it's the first phase of outfit shift I think is happening now. So the big outfit's gonna break up to the more casuals and the more competitive oriented players, and I think you can already see that in boys, and I think that will continue in other circuits as well. And I think that's
Zella's got what he wanted, though. He said in advance he wanted to fight Reborn and 3-pack or Zerg, and he's gonna get that now in the qualifier. So whatever happens, he got what he wanted, I guess.
Well, that for me will be the telling thing on the discussion about how many showed up. It's like, knowing that they were against Hydra, all right, well, whoever's around show up. Whereas 3-peg, they'll probably see as being a much easier match next weekend. So if they like properly show up to make sure that they secure the win, then it's going to be like shitty.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's smart to like kind of set the matchup straight for them, because now they get to play against the Russians, who have so far not really shown anything that would resemble coordinated play. If they would have gotten a few more of those victory points, I think they're called anyway, they would have been matched against Reborn, and I think that would have been, at least for viewers, a more interesting match, but maybe for the boys a bit more of a scary one, because that's something where you are going to lose a lot of face if you lose that one.
Yeah, I think boys versus Reborn would actually be a nice match to watch, because I think boys actually, like, if they want to win, they will have to try hard. It's not like it's like against 3PG. It's just like 3PG is actually, I find, trying a bit more this season than I felt like last one. They're at least doing some things in group. It's not super coordinated, but at least they're trying, and at least they're sending a full platoon against anyone who faces them.
Yeah, I think a rematch against boys would have been quite fun. I think, considering how last weekend's went with probably the wrong call to go all in on the on the Nexus. I wasn't playing last weekend, but yeah, I think a rematch would have been quite fun.
Then the other game of that night was RedMist versus Reapers. Played it myself, Aerro as well. I would say Reapers at the start was very surprisingly. They tried to actually go for a warp gate, but that's where they kind of left their flank open, I would say, and lost a lot of bases because of that. What do you think, Aerro?
Yeah, they actually surprised us quite a bit in the beginning. We expected them to have a lot of tanks, obviously, knowing Reapers. But they actually went for the bases we owned. So we were in the Northern Warp Gate, and they, for example, dropped onto Slate Canyon, and then they hacked all the turrets there to slow down our tanks, which kind of surprised us. But then once we cleared them out, then we got proper spawns up. It went pretty much as expected from there. Besides the fact that they kept a lot of tanks up for basically the entire match, preventing us from properly getting a foothold on their Nexus in the very end.
Yeah, I think after seeing that Reapers match, if I were to give out the award for most underwhelming performance so far, I think for me that would be Reapers. Because looking at their players, and also if you look at the leaderboard for that match, it's clear that they're not bad players, and they're not clueless about the game either. But seeing them in the standings, currently very much so towards the bottom of the table, currently in rank 8, so barely making elimination stages. To me, that's a bit. I would have expected a bit more from an outfit that's got many players in it who've been playing for weeks. I see Bashar high on the fragging board. There's people like Chem2 up there. It's lots of people who can play the game decently at least. And seeing them not really perform and win their matches so far, I don't know. Maybe something might need to change for Reapers generally.
With Reapers, it's a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know whether the fact that they're also playing with bros on not very much kind of planning or prep. I don't know whether that's a factor too,
Yeah, like
because I
bros.
don't think they had I don't think they had much prep. I don't know if they, opt that much before the actual Outfit Wars started.
I think
just
like
observation.
I can agree with ZmileZ. They're pretty like underwhelming, but I also have that I give the ground to Borg as well. I rated them way higher actually, and seeing them on the bottom as well is kind of weird. Like I rated the 1v4 guys below Reapers and Borg initially, and it, like completely turned the tables. And with Reapers, Tracker, you sent something, right?
Yeah.
From Foreign God.
Yeah, basically one of the officers of Reapers basically kind of said what happened for them. For them, it was mainly they felt like they were in general just a bit too slow. I would say like tank wise, like ground vehicle wise, they did a pretty good job, but they had also too much invested in it, so they were missing the players on the points.
Yeah, that's definitely what we felt as well. They just had too much invested into the wrong thing at the wrong time, I think.
Yeah, that's the usual problem, like the transition from there. Like having people only playing their niche and then don't get out of the niche and having to do like going on point, pulling a max or whatever. And we had that in the past in Lane Smash as well. And it's pretty hard to get it out of people. So also like trying something else. Especially it's also hard with like air people. Like getting most people out of the airplanes is sometimes pretty hard, but sometimes you just have to ban on point, right? And in lane smash that like matters way more than on Outfit Wars, but still you can't only play your niche. Like if you only tank on live, great for you, great for the first 10 minutes on Nexus, but at some point you maybe have to leave the tank if you feel useless. And I don't think Reapers have this transition yet. And I also read that one PDF, Drakoy, and the one line was like, they don't have experience in 1 versus 1 yet. And I think that's a little weird statement, honestly. Because if you only like rely on live on overpopping or on a freeway fight and abusing that, but you can't get an advantage in a 1v1, then that's a little bit weird, right? I think that's a little, yeah, I don't know. I found that really, really strange, that one line.
Yeah, I think what they did do well is though, on their home base, they made it basically close to impossible. Like they had their tanks, but they also used them smart, I would say. There made it impossible for us to get anything down of Sundays or something like that. Basically denied us in that way, and also I think pushed us off point like a few times, like pretty well.
We were having a hard time getting any maxes in there or something like that because of all the stuff they had outside. They also kept the air turrets up on the top, so we took them out twice, all the stuff around, but they just repulled it immediately, so it's hard to do much.
Yeah, they set up like before we even captured both of Nexus Secure and Nexus Argent Pass. Sorry, they set up already on Nexus Alpha. They basically played like I would say a more defensive style from I think 2 minutes into that cap, instead of like trying to go after one of the two bases to try to get back on the offensive.
They decided they didn't want to get warp gated and stuck to that plan, I guess.
Yeah, I think decision making is the big one for Reapers here, because looking at the rest of the stats, it for once it sticks out that tanks did a lot more killing than the TR tanks did. But
twice as many kills.
Yeah, as Puff already said, this probably for the worst, since those kills didn't seem to have been too impactful. Otherwise, it wouldn't have gone the way it did. On the other hand, though, if you look at the pure kill distribution, the teams aren't too far apart. And for a team like RedMist that's got strong shooters all over the place, it does really tell the story that Reapers doesn't really lack the people to pull it off. I think in Reapers' case, this is purely a case of leadership and planning. If there was more or different in that way, I would guess that Reapers, that they probably wouldn't be at the top of the table, but they would be able to have compelling matches for longer, if not for entire match durations.
Yeah,
There's another. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Crowley.
There's another thing I would like to ask the to RedMist people in here. So, how did you feel the air fight was going in that match? Did Reapers use their usual galaxies? Did they make use of them? Did they use them to draw 1 point or something?
I would say for me, I was mainly flying in a repair gal that game. Joined like 10 seconds before the game started, right on time. I would say we were generally in control of the air. Sometimes they repulled, but not massively to ever when I got shot down is because I was too close to the enemy warp gate. Basically, it was out of place. But I would say the air game we were firmly in control over most of the time.
Okay, because from what I've observed, at least on live servers, they've often used their galaxies to drop people and quickly move from one place of the map to another.
Mhm.
And you denying that on Nexus I think also had a big impact on how the game actually went in the end. It's like a lot easier to just move a gal from one side of the map to another compared to driving a Sandra there.
Yeah, it was definitely us that had the rep gals up for like pretty much the entire game, not them.
Let's move on to Saturday. One of the matches that was pretty quick decided, I think, was Reborn against Surgrush. How was that, Shive?
Yeah, I think for us it was as expected. 3peg hadn't really changed anything, I think, from the last couple of matches that we had watched VODs for. Like, they went heavy on armor, they went very light on air, like practically no mozzies at the start, just went full on Sundays and prowlers, and pretty pop dumpy in terms of their infantry. Alec had come up with a pretty nice plan for the opener for us to drop caltrops and tank mines at choke points for their armor, because we knew they were going to pull lots of armor. And as predicted, their prowlers and Sundays just drove straight into them. Didn't really know what to do. They didn't get out and try to destroy them. They just like looked at them. So we hacked out the turrets behind them, and then I think in the opener I killed about 3 Sundays and 2 prowlers myself. So I think it went as expected. And then their infantry just kind of pop dumped, I guess, as they would do on live. So it wasn't that difficult, I think. And we saw good kind of progress in terms of our coordination and swapping between different roles. I think overall it was a good match for us, not for them.
Yeah, I would say it's a bit hard for me to I can see the stats of it, but there wasn't any stream of it up, if I'm right, or any vote.
No, I don't think anybody was streaming though.
I watched a bit of Cactus's POV, but that was just one squad, so what I could see at the end was just they trickled in a lot. They didn't really coordinate. Like on live, they actually coordinated better in those few times we saw them. But I feel like on Nexus they had the spawn and the Sundays, and they just trickled in like one by one, pretty much. Didn't look that coordinated.
Yeah, and a similar thing to what people were saying about boys in terms of very low battle ranks as well. I think I maybe killed 1 or 2 people that had ASP, but I think when we spoke about it afterwards, it didn't really seem like there were a lot that had a fairly high battle rank. So it was, I'd say probably pretty uncoordinated.
Yeah, it's hard to know what goes on in like 3PG their mind. I feel like at least they're playing, they're showing up, they're trying their best. It's not that they're, I would say, just not playing. They're actually doing their armor columns. I think if they have some pilots, I don't know if they do, but it would be nice to see them to at least create an air force, because you barely see anything of that. I think for the Reavers, it was just like a free roam for you guys, for RBRN.
Yeah, our air could pretty much just go A to G for most of it. We weren't contested in the air, and then, as I say, infantry was very pop dumpy. In fact, they did push us off one base, and we had to go back in with 2 squads. But then we were pretty well point holding, and I think they must have brought at least 2 or 3 squads of infantry, which I orbitaled twice. So it was pretty dumb. It was like running into a shredder.
Yeah, I mean, given that 3PG doesn't really contest for the winning of the match, at least they've got one thing going for them, and that's that their approach to the game makes it relatively easy for other teams who are not that experienced to like try and adapt their strategies a bit. Because we've seen other teams just do the thing of like, we're going to just bash heads with their armor column and just come out on top. And we've now seen your approach of, hey, we're going to do something a bit more nuanced with a bit more thought behind it and see if that works. I think that's something good to take away from those matches against teams like 3PG, that you actually can see what might be valid and where you say like, hey, this we tried it now, but it doesn't even work against the Russian people, so no point further developing it.
Yeah, and we did mix things up. Like when we were pushing their Nexus, we knew that they had a lot of Sky Guards and Prowlers. So yes, my squad was mostly Oops, but did have probably 3 or 4 Reborn, and we swapped to Battle Sundays and Vanguards and went to work, and it did quite well. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice to swap it up and do different things.
Then the next game of that evening was Hot versus 1v4. How did it go, ZmileZ?
That match, I had the pleasure of watching it from the inside as well as from the outside, because I disconnected about 15 minutes in.
Oh.
So not great from that department. But this match, even though the outcome looked fairly decisive in the end, that match was a lot closer than it needed to be. At no discredit to the 1 versus 4 guys, because they did really well at playing infantry, at playing the annoying backcap game. They utilized a lot of outfit assets, lots of anvils everywhere. They did a really good job of keeping teams on their toes, and I can definitely see that being a very big hurdle for teams playing against them in the future. But generally, that there were still some factors that they couldn't get over. Like, they did repull air very often throughout the match. They never gave it up. They always threw a few sights at our Reavers. Never really winning the air, but at least preventing people from permanently looking at the ground, which kind of slowed down the entire game. But the main asset on their end, and what we struggled a lot with, were the infantry pushes in that regard. I think it was also visible on stream where they were holding the powerhouse on, I think, Hydro, northeastern base. And that was, you could really see that they know what they're doing in the infantry department. They've got their holds down. The rest seemed a bit shaky, like putting a cloak bus on top of a mountain to like ground lock on people and putting burster maxes up there. Bit gimmicky, kind of slows it down. I think for me falls into the same category as pulling lots of Sky Guards. It's just a loose, slower strategy. But in the end, I think a good match to play in. Very, very valuable in terms of information gained. And truth be told, I think because I have to continue this saga, Doc P last week had the argument about galaxies being useless or useful. I think seeing as though we didn't really deploy many Sundays and the galaxies stayed alive the entire match through and got spawns and bulldog kills en masse, I think kind of so far looks like the galaxies might just be worth running after all. However, on that note, as a closing note, maybe biggest issue, I think we talked about it earlier, Puff mentioned it, of getting pilots out of their aircraft. I think that was the biggest issue for us this game. We had, and at that part I could only see it from third person still, but way too many ESFs not doing enough things that you need an ESF for.
Yeah.
Did the other guys who played on Saturday have bad hitching? Because I know Pav said you didn't on your Friday, but
there
was
was
awful.
plenty of hitching. The first 15 minutes I played, I lost 2 Reavers to hitching and flying into cliffs. And then many other people also had hitching of about, I think we only had 1 per resource tick though, whereas I saw on some other matches reach up to 3 hitches per minute. So I think we're on the lower end. Still not good to play, but hey, at least not the worst.
Yeah, it was
about
brutal
the
during
galaxies.
ours.
About the galaxies, I think you said they didn't pull much air, right? And then I think then galaxies have like free reign, right? I mean, then galaxies are insanely powerful. Spawn, repair, ground pound, everything in once, right? Then galaxy is really useful. But if you have like air occupying like your airspace, and they actually have to retreat and have to play passive, I mean, that's at least 2 people being relatively useless. And I still think galaxies will play less and less a role the further the tournament goes on, and the more people know how important they are if they are ignored. I still stand behind that. But let's see.
I
I'll
totally
have to
agree
disagree with you, Puff,
I
on
know.
this one.
I know.
Having seen all of the many matches on Miller and Cobalt, all I can say is Galaxies are going to be one of the strongest assets for sure. And either it's as a bait or as an actual tool that's being used to enhance the gameplay experience for the own team.
Yeah,
I can see Hydra versus RedMist and only a Galaxy opener from Crowley.
No, but I think Galaxies are. I'm somewhat split between Puff and Crowley here because on one hand, I think the more experience people get in dealing with them, the less valuable they might get. But on the other hand, first of all, I doubt that people are going to gain that experience all too quickly because it's theoretically it's a simple call to make of just focus fire that Galaxy. But everyone who's been in the air and has been leading air and stuff knows that just making that call is not as easy. There's a few more factors that go into being able to deal with it effectively. And secondly, I think these Galaxies, I don't know, if your Air Force is already on the losing end, then running the Galaxies might not be worth it because you're never going to be able to sustain, and your goal should be the relief pulls that you often see from not that deep rosters concerning the air players. But if you've got a close matchup and you might just be 5 to 10% behind in terms of firepower, having that rep guy sit behind a mountain and banking on the enemy air leads, just doing a bad job at calling, and that might just save you. So I think Galaxy so far still gets my sign of approval, but the amount of them I think is what really comes down to it. And the use type on Cobalt so far, we haven't seen many jammers. If anyone's watched the recursion matches on Emerald, then you would have seen plenty of jammer Galaxies being used. So we'll see if maybe the European matches also shift in that direction.
We have actually seen the 1 or 2 Jammer Galaxies in the 1 RPC against LPS match. Because the 1 RPC team, we kept using Havoc ESM to damage one of the Galaxies with Havocs and prevent it from repairing, and then we just focus fired it down quickly, which actually worked out incredibly well and often gave us a great opener for an air fight.
Yeah, I think regarding that one, it's kind of, to me, it's still a bit of a pain to see the Havocs being locked behind the A7 or Daybreak Crash purchase. I think that really
I
limits it
fully
because if you
agree.
look at
Yeah.
the battle rank distribution in the teams, it's very hard for people to get those unlocked unless you really focus on it. Because it's such a niche currency now that you don't get it from alerts, I think it was originally anymore. That it really it unnecessarily makes the air game a lot more two-dimensional than it needs to be.
Yeah, I
think
mean, at
It's
this
also
point,
time locked because
It
you need
got
to
a
do the
lot-
missions all day.
Yeah, it got a lot better now because now the missions reset after 8 hours, not after 24 hours though. So I think you can do like twice or even third the amount of the missions with the bounty system. But yeah, I agree. Like locking that ability behind such a paywall, like not the paywall, like grind currency is not good. Not good. Not good at all. And I think they should really change it. If they even can anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess if they just refund the A7 and just make it surge or something, I guess that could work. Then anyone can have access to it basically in a reasonable amount of time. Because let's be honest, a lot of people made new accounts on use accounts that are not that experienced, that they don't have PR 100 or prestige whatever in, so they don't have everything unlocked for who they're playing for.
But I think that's the idea behind it as well. They kind of want to they want that ringers don't have a good time, right? They kind of want the outfits playing, and the ringers thing is like one thing, but they don't want to make it even easier as it is to ring for another team. That's why they didn't disable the ASP discounts, right? So you actually have a benefit to play on your main, right? And yeah, in that perspective, maybe it's good to lock it behind, but I mean, it's even on live a problem, right? On live gameplay, you don't have those Havocs on live as well, and that sucks for most people.
In the end, though, if someone really wants them, they could always open up their wallet a little further and just purchase them.
Yeah, can you actually? Are those?
Yes, you can. I've actually done that.
Great.
And then probably towards, I would say, a pretty interesting game. Last game of Saturday night, Bog versus Dior. So.
Oh yes, I have to agree. That one looked very interesting.
I think Bog had actually decent shot at it if they were a bit behind, but I would still give them at least like a good 30% chance of winning, like 30 to 40% chance of winning that game if they had their backups, like always. Because they a lot of times they got a point when I casted it as well with Aerro, and they got a point but then didn't have the follow-up to it, and then so they lost their momentum, I felt.
Bog
Yeah, I have
actually
to
got
agree.
really close a couple times. Like they lost like 2 or 3 caps with like 5 seconds left. It was really close. And then Dior kicked them off, and with like one play basically going for their Nexus, coming and then basically starting cap timers on all the other bases. They managed to get 2 other bases by basically sitting on their Nexus for a while, then quickly redeploying and capping those. And then it was really hard for Bog to push out again.
Yeah, and one thing you also shouldn't forget about is how strong Dior actually is in the air. They have a lot of people who can fly. They also have a lot of people who can fly well. And they've tried to utilize that to the maximum in every match I've seen them play in till this point. And I'm not sure, but I don't think Borg has all that many pilots. I've sometimes seen them on a single lane trying to do something, but I've never seen that broader air dominance from Borg in the stream I watched. So
Yeah.
I'd say the logistics were kind of hindered by that simple fact. But considering all of the circumstances, I'd say Borg did a really good job at trying to play the map. But unfortunately for them, Dior just had a dominance in the air and made full use of it, and also had a strategy of making Borg retreat in the end and giving up most of the bases.
Yeah, that air might have also been what just prevented them from getting those backups if they weren't using like a cloak flash or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think looking at that, I would have expected more attempts from Borg at least at regaining their momentum, because it seemed like they were up until roughly from memory, like the 10-minute mark or something.
Mhm.
It seemed like a very open match towards both ends. But once Borg was kind of on the back foot, they didn't seem to be able to recover that anymore. And I think that's a bit of a shame, because you see many teams trying different things, and cloak flashes are one thing of it, but now that you can use anvils and stuff, which aren't available in other competitive formats, I was a bit shocked not to see more singular cloak flashes running anvils to the next base, for example, or really anything generally to attempt to get the momentum back. Because Borg is an outfit that's been playing together for a long time, and while they may not have the pilots, they've certainly got the experience and the shooting prowess on point to cap bases. So I'm a bit surprised to see that while Dior did the right thing in focusing on their air strength, Borg didn't really seem to change their game plan to try and isolate their infantry strength better.
Yeah, I think Borg also kept pulling air. Like, they didn't really win it, but they kept their air busy, so they didn't get full air to ground it. So, on one side, you're kind of throwing people away, but you need to also make sure if your enemy air can just go ham, it's also like they had to keep people for sure going, like keep air-to-air setups, not go like Banshee and rocket bots, you know. So at least they did that to kind of compensate for having less air, I would say.
Another thing I have seen while the match actually happened, as far as I could tell, Borg did not have a full roster, because when I quickly skipped through the Archie stream, Archie has actually been on a TR character,
Mm-hmm.
on his TR character, joining the match and observing it. So theoretically, that shouldn't be possible, since you'd be taking up a spot if you go in as one of the factions the people are playing as or are being represented as. And yeah, I'm not sure how many people they were lacking, or if it was just a disconnect or whatever happened there. But that could have been another factor that just prevented them from doing some more stuff, since Dior maybe had like 5 people who could constantly stop the small backcaps without losing numbers elsewhere.
Yeah, I think both had a full team, but I think every team during the game at least has 1 or 2 disconnects for sure. There's always something happening. And I think if you have a disconnect, I think they should look into that you have at least like 5 minutes or something to rejoin. Because right now, like, if your internet loses like connection for like 15 seconds, you're basically out of the game that you for example, waited a week on to play. I think that's sad. Like that you have to be on time and can't join anymore. I understand that, but that you cannot reconnect, that you don't have a certain amount of time to get back into the game. That's just sad to see, because your game sometimes just crashes randomly.
Yeah, unfortunately. And it's also a big issue if something like a zone crash would ever happen, because that could actually cause lots of people on the entire continent to be thrown out, maybe even everyone. And yeah, I don't know if the match would be even watchable or playable in that case if something like that was around. Probably not. But yeah, that's something they should look into.
Because I can't even imagine how hard it would be for them to have a match replayed or something similar like that.
Yeah, if you looked when testing was happening, when they tried to do custom matches, they broke like one match by starting another one. I don't think it's really easy to make restart a match or something like that. I feel if they touch the code, they need to like break something else sometimes. I think we would go. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Beth.
They only have that in place, right? Because of the issue of leaving the match, going back to a continent, then getting a nanite, right?
I think it's to prevent people from rotating entire rosters midway.
Yeah, that's also a thing.
But I mean, you should be able to just lock the spot to one player as it is currently and allow that player to rejoin. I think that would be the most sensible solution to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and while the match is going on, you could potentially also limit the use of resource boosters to just go out for 5 minutes to get resources or something similar. That shouldn't be too problematic.
That's probably way too deep in the code, honestly. I wouldn't touch that, honestly. In their position, no way. But yeah, what ZmileZ said. Just lock that one spot to that account, character, whatever, and that's it.
Or you can just make it so if they can either be on Sanctuary or on Nexus, and if they leave one of the two places, they basically get kicked out of their spot. If they, for example, go to Amrush, they lose their spot. But if they just join Nexus again, then join Sanctuary, sorry, because they restarted, they will automatically join Sanctuary. I don't see an issue in that. That's how they could prevent it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I think that and the hitching should be the top two priorities. Because
top
otherwise,
priority.
it plays fine. It's a fun format to play for everyone, I think. But these two things really, right now, for me at least, are the two biggest hindrances I can see.
Mm-hmm.
Like yesterday, the VCats match, I was like so close to quitting, like losing the. Okay, I mean it was an easy match in the end, but still, it's so frustrating to lose an ESF like nanites in an important match, and it's unbelievable that it's after 2 weeks of reporting an issue as no fix in yet. Like no probably fix. Yeah, we tried it out. Maybe it's fixing nothing. On like two small notices on the patch notes. Yeah, we're looking into it. Great. I mean, then please don't start such a tournament if it's not clean. At least on such a level, right? It's unbelievable.
Because
I don't know.
I think there are enough outfits even willing, like for sure for the playtest you saw, there were enough people wanting to test as well. Like it's not, if they would say like on Wednesday, hey, we want to do like a test to test hitching, I think a decent, like you don't need a full like platoon on both sides, but if you just put it on a public test server, I think enough people would join if you announce it to test if their fix works or not, you know? And that
but I think regarding the testing, I've been at the tests. I think so did many others in this podcast here, and I think that the way the tests were run, it was leaving many flanks open. Like you had cases where one match didn't start in the semis. I think one match didn't start, and we were in the other match, which did start, and then they canceled one match and started the other one instead. And at some point, they just said, "Okay, we're just going to let one match run at a time," which is something that doesn't really prepare you for setting something live, because you are going to have more matches run at the same time. And seeing that the hitches occur every minute precisely at the same second, it might be something to load, it might be something related to something else, but I think just proper testing for it beforehand would have really saved them a lot of trouble.
Once again, proper testing is the issue. And it's all like every major patch we have, it's every time the same. It's bad testing beforehand and rushing out content. It's every time the same. It's repeating, and I don't know.
Like,
I
I'm
think
sick
in
and
this
tired of
case,
it.
testing on the test server wouldn't even suffice, because if Emerald is having more hitching than other servers, probably because they have more people online during Prime, and that's affecting it as well.
Yeah, but then I mean, Cobalt, like there's only like 2 or at maximum 3 matches at the same time, and there's also hitching. And on the other hand, there are like a lot of like some players didn't have like some teams didn't have hitching on Emerald as well, right? And even though it was prime time and a lot more
Okay.
matches, so it's I can get why they still need like 2 weeks to figure out what's the issue, because it's like not obvious. Yeah, it's server load, right? Or it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, at 5 matches at the same time, there's gonna be hitching. It's not that easy, and that's why it's still not fixed. I get that, but it should be done before a tournament like this started, and that's the main issue, honestly.
Yeah, I think
agree.
I think in general the ideas of the devs or like designers is not bad. Like I think Outfit Wars was a great addition personally, but you need to back it up as well. You know, if you do a competitive event, because everyone is very competitive in it, you need to make sure like the stuff is working. You cannot have like if a CS:GO game would have hitching at a competitive event, they would just cancel the game and just replay it. It's like like at least there's no money or something on the line like this, luckily enough. But if you want to be really competitive, you need to make sure the structure behind it needs to be competitive as well. But I would say we go on to the predictions of next week. So we don't know which days the matches are gonna be yet. That's gonna be out later. But one of the first matches probably will be, or last we will see, is Boys versus the Crush. What do you think? Will Boys get the victory here, or?
As I say, I think if they show up with more players than they've showed up the last couple of matches, then I'd be surprised if they didn't, because I think they had quite a lot of air and infantry for our first match. So I think if they show up, then they probably will. As I say, I just think that's a bit of a cop out if they only show up with maximum players for matches they think they're realistically going to win. I just think that's a bit of a cop out.
And I think actually, if Boys wins that by a lot of points, then Reapers actually need to win the match against RBN, right? They're fighting RBN.
Yeah, exactly.
Then
Well, that's
Reapers
also what we thought.
Needs to win that match, otherwise they are out if Boys gets more points. And I don't know if Reapers know that, but they're actually on a counter there. And CHIVE, I hope you're giving them a hard time.
Yeah, there's a lot of. We're looking forward to it. I think it'll be a fun match. I think we're all really, really hyped about it. I think because if you look at like the landscape of outfits on Cobalt, like I think we're going into this like pretty like self-aware that there's 6 teams that we can't touch, but there's 3 teams that actually, given all the effort that's going into practice, actually we could be fairly competitive in our sense too, not competitive in your sense too. So and Reapers I think is one of them. So I think in terms of like the common NC Cobalt outfits that people would probably hear of on like a regular night, like Reapers and Reborn, then I think it's a bit of a, not like a grudge match. I don't want to call it a grudge match, but it'll be, playing for a lot more than just the points, I think, if that makes sense.
I think it's also especially interesting because obviously Oops and DDKD together with Reborn and also Reapers play in joint ops quite often, so you guys all know each other's playstyles quite well.
Well, exactly. That's why it's about more than just points. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And as I say, a lot of like time and effort has gone in, definitely from like the Reborn side in terms of prep. Not just doing infantry. We're not just like pop dumping every base. Everybody's on Discord. Everybody's communicating. It's not like we've just signed up and 48 people randomly press join. There's like a lot of work that has gone in from the Reborn side to, as I say, for those like 3 or 4 teams, boys and Reapers
Mm-hmm.
to be for as competitive as we can be. So I think, yeah, it's about more than just points. And yeah, hopefully it'll be fun.
That's great. You're putting effort in. Actually, like I also see a lot of like RBN people flying as well and doing trainings together. So yeah, props for that.
Yeah,
actually.
there's loads of training that goes in, both large scale and small scale, to give particularly the the Reborn guys that chance. And yeah, everybody that's playing from the Reborn side has like signed up and committed and are on Discord, and 48 people are in Discord. It's not like Zealous giving out commands over platoon chat in game. It's like we're actually here to play and have a good chance. So yeah, fingers crossed.
I think that's very respectable for sure. If like a team puts in that much effort, even if you don't have the best players, but you put in the effort, you put in like you're trying to get at least like training an air squad up. It won't be the best, but if you face someone that is at the same skill level but doesn't put in the effort, you will still beat them. I feel if
yeah,
you...
and as I say, the team is like very self-aware. So like the first match against Bok, actually we had guys who played air pretty much for that entire match, even though they were getting absolutely hammered by Bok pilots who were clearly better. They were still the whole match playing air and doing their best, and in fairness, they did a pretty good job. So yeah, it's definitely not the Reborn of live, if that's what some people think in terms of just pop dumping every base. I don't think, with the exception of like the Nexus, where we've had to defend, all 4 squads have been in the same place at the same time. So
Yeah, but even if you don't manage to qualify in the end, or you do, like the live gameplay is still gonna get better because of it. I think so.
yeah,
That's
100%, 100%. But no, we want to clap Reapers.
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to hear. I mean, especially looking at the table, right? Anything outside of qualifying for Reborn, I think, would be a massive shame. Not only because of all the work, but also if you look at the other standings, depending on how next week's matches go, it might just be loads of ties with 2 wins and 2 losses, and it's all down to the victory points tiebreaker to see where you're seeded for the elimination rounds. So if you really manage to clap Reapers, as you said, depending on how strongly the other matches go, you might just end up grabbing one of the top 4 seeds even and getting an easier opponent next elim round. So I think these matches are very, very interesting, even though they're taking part on the right now lower half of the table, because they're quite decisive for what's going to happen in the next rounds.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is that whilst we probably looked at the boys match and thought, damn, we should have like been more competitive. We could have won that. The other thing was like, if we'd won that, we would have played H this week. So it's like okay, yeah, all right, we got clapped last week, but you know what? We had the opportunity to play against 3PEG, actually learn a little from the match, go into next week against a slightly more competitive match, probably for Reborn. And as you say, we stand as good a chance as any to win that, I think, based on the last couple of Reaper matches. And if we do, I think at that stage we'll probably be realistic against the people we're going up against. But at that stage, everybody will pat themselves on the back and say it was a good run.
Yeah, because like if you look at a decent amount, like Zergrus is, I would say, for sure out. But other than that, there's a few teams, like a lot of teams that could still be out technically. If you're not sure that who's out other than Zergrus. If you clap RE4, there's RE4 is gonna need to look out, otherwise they're out themselves as well. What you wouldn't think when we started this run.
Yeah, that's also what ZmileZ said. I think that Reapers are pretty underwhelming this season, because they actually they need to win the match against RBN. Otherwise they're out 100%. I think, if I checked it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really I wouldn't expect it either. That would be insane, honestly. Because I was always thinking, yeah, Reapers is the average, but if they actually like manage like boys going ahead of them, then I think that's a whole different story, right? And yeah, really interesting next week.
Yeah, for sure. Then we have 1v4 versus Balk. What do you guys think about that one? Who will win?
Oh,
you
I think that could be great. Could be a great match because
Yeah,
Bog
I feel
won for
like
name's sake.
both teams have a similar playstyle. They always try to go for backups. They try to play for the map. They don't necessarily want to win the air, but keep it contested.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we've seen previously. And I think it could be very close. And I can't really tell which way it would go. But I'm probably going to give it to 1v4 in this case. Because Borg has had a kind of inconsistent performance, while they've had a more consistent and good performance, in my opinion.
This is also a rematch, right?
Is it?
Yeah, wasn't this the second week matchup for them?
Yeah, true. You're right. There was a second
Mhm.
week matchup that way.
Yeah, and 1v4 right?
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, Hydra also won the first time against RedMist, and RedMist won the second time they met. So yeah, pretty interesting. I can't even say like who will win that. I think Borg also has a little issues with numbers, I think, and also like we have some NA players as well. So if it falls on a Friday, I think Borg maybe actually has some player numbers issue. But I can't, like, sadly Murdoch isn't here tonight. But that can be also a factor, honestly.
Yeah, I want to give it to Borg just because I've been seeing him on live for ages, and 1v4 is a newer outfit, so I kind of want the old and trusted to prevail here. But on the other hand, Borg is 1-2 right now, and if Borg drop this match, they go 1-3, which is once again scary territory because then you're just depending on other outfits to perform for you.
Yeah,
Which
because
once again, Borg going out in qualifier round, that would be quite something. Considering I think that would be way more shocking and surprising than even Reapers dropping.
Yeah, but I think they have enough tiebreaker points already, and the match will be close against 1v4, so they also get a lot of points. So I think Borg is pretty safe, honestly. Like this can't be, they can't fail that.
yeah, technically they could still go out, but I think as well Balk is not gonna get warp gated within 13 minutes. So I don't think they will still get some points, and they're already a decent way ahead above Reapers. I think there's more as 100 points in between them. So they technically, if they don't get wiped somehow, they should be safe. Then we have for the third rematch, H versus RedMist. Are you gonna bring everyone this time, Path Daddy, or what will happen?
Same issue as
Hopefully
usual.
we can.
It's a Friday match. We are probably 10 people down again, and if it's a Saturday match, we are maybe also 10 people down. But yeah, I hope we get the 48 this time, and to have a great match. And actually, if I think we have the 48, I think we're gonna win the match. Pretty sure.
Yeah, I think like even us as RedMist on the Fridays we struggle to get 48 people because, for example, I work pretty far from where I live, and sometimes to get in time home before the match, like you can ask the other boys in RedMist. I joined 20 seconds max before the 20-minute timer was over. I had to update Planetside if close to gave me a heart attack to join the game, but I got in right in time. But it's a struggle to like fill the Friday evening matches for us as well.
Yeah, I personally don't mind the third rematch because the Hydra matches have been a lot of fun. More fun than the Reapers match, in my opinion, because we use less vehicles, and that's quite fun. So don't mind it. Hopefully, it's another good one.
Yeah, it will be a good one for sure. Doesn't matter how many we have and how many you have, it will be a good one anyway. So I'm looking forward to it actually.
Same, yeah.
Like, do you for example, ZmileZ, as a whole, do you like look at these matches as well to like learn something from them? For example, for when you're facing H?
I mean, we do watch the matches, not all of them. I can tell you we don't watch all matches. Obviously, you watch what the competition does, right? You kind of want to see what people are doing. even though when it comes to what the air does specifically, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. I think everyone's kind of seen the 2 or 3 options you really have to go with. And it's really just seeing, like, knowing the names who are in charge. It already tells you a lot if you've been around the block for a while. So knowing it's a Hydra Air roster with Puff and Crowley, I can kind of know what to expect anyway from the air department. They're not going to go full tanks at the start. Yeah, so the matches are still watched just to check if there's any interesting Sunday spots that you missed or other interesting developments, because you only get to be on the map yourself once per week. So any chance you get to kind of check other matches to see what they've been doing, did they find any revolutionary Sunday spots? I know there's one that's been found where the Sunday deploys underground. I'm not sure if that's going to be fixed anytime soon. And yeah, I think for that reason alone, it's very important and very common to watch all of the VODs you can get your hands on, at least of the people where you'd see that type of stuff happening.
Yeah, I think you could learn a lot from watching other matches. Just mainly spots, how cheesy spots you can get, like an antenna, for example, like on certain places that you didn't see before. And some matches, it makes it very interesting to like learn from that. I hope Crowley comes with his 12 battle cows at the opener with a bit of luck, and then we can have like
Puff lets me.
Gonna be 48, man.
48 gals will wash at the start. That would be make for sure a nice view. Then we have the last match, Hot versus Dior. Who do you guys will take the win in there? I think Dior has a decent chance, actually.
I mean, it's a rematch as well at this point. And I'd say like Hot played it very well last time. But on the other hand, Dior had a chance to really improve from what they did wrong. Because they had a great opener. And they actually, if I remember correctly, they got 2 out of the 3 bases in the beginning. And they just weren't able to capitalize on that. So if they actually plan ahead a little more, it could be a nail biter for both sides in the end.
I think it should be a close one, especially considering that if you compare the way that Dior played the previous matches, you're going to see a bit of change in there, the way they approach the game, comparing the Hot match to the last match they played, for example. And also you're going to have to look at rosters again, because I'm pretty sure there are going to be quite significant changes to rosters on both ends here for that match. So it should be a very interesting one, and hopefully a close one that's enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, it will be enjoyable for sure, but I also think Hot learned a lot from that one match as well. And I don't think Dior has such an easy time to get 2 bases out of Hot this time in the beginning. So I'm actually giving it Hot this time. And I think it will be a more clear win for Hot than last time, actually. Because I don't see Dior improving on that and making the right decisions to change, because they had a really good opener, but I think they either ran out of nanites, I don't know, or just got outplayed, and I don't see how they will fix that, getting outplayed against a team like Hot. But yeah, we will see.
Well, the nanite game can be fixed a little bit by not having people bail all the time and doing similar stuff, which I have actually seen a few times from the Dior side. And yeah, I'm really not sure who's gonna go get away with this. Probably Hot, since they have way more experience altogether. But for us as viewers, it will definitely be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I think every game next week will be interesting to watch, other than Boys versus Circrush. I think that's gonna be a bit of a meh. You never know. Like, maybe we're surprised, but all the other games look like very interesting matchups and pretty even matchups as well. So I think we will for sure maybe even see like one of those 4 games for sure can be an upset, and we will see what happens next week. Thank you all for being here, attending this 4th time we did the Outfit Wars podcast. Appreciate you for talking about 1 hour about this, and see you guys next time.
See ya.
See you next time.
Bye.